Hello, my name is Oli Cooper and welcome to the Production Managers Forum Skillshare on CAD. Today I have the pleasure of working with you through some tips, tricks and features of AutoCAD that hopefully you will find useful. These are things that I find useful and often missed in generic training and sometimes everyday use. So let's get to it. So to kick off this video, I'm actually going to start right back at the very basics and something that is often forgotten because our computers have massively evolved over the last few years to become powerhouses. Even the small laptops are far more powerful than some of the computers when I started to learn CAD. And to show this, I'm actually just going to hop into a CAD document. Some of you may recognize this. This is actually one of the training documents that I use and quite a few others use, created by Adam Taylor. And this was to show a couple of things. A, about pan and movement in AutoCAD, but also to talk about a command called regeneration or regen or refresh, depending on what you want to call it. And on modern day computers, this document is slightly obsolete in the sense that I can zoom out from the flea to find the screw within the stageway, within the theatre, within London, within the UK, without having to regen at all. Now, going back to CAD 2009, showing my age now, you used to have to hit RE enter probably every couple of zooms. And you can see there was a little jump as I typed RE enter. If I zoom in, again, there's no errors. The computer's managing to hold this entire file in detail with all the curves with no problems whatsoever. Now, if you're on a slightly less powerful machine, or if you're working with large show files, such as composite plans, ground plans, venue plans with sets on, lighting plans, and sound, you'll find that the computer staggers a little bit as you zoom in and out. And although the computer and program has been rewritten to regenerate as it zooms to make sure you get the best possible experience, sometimes you just need to give the computer a little kick. And we do that by typing RE enter, and that's a regen. And it doesn't matter, you can just do it casually as you're on each level. And it's not going to affect anything. It's not going to diminish your performance. It's literally going, I'm going to do a lot of work at this level. I quite often do it when I zoom into a certain factor and I'll just go like that. And you can see, I think the biggest difference there was the line type of the dimension changed. If I zoom out, see if I can get it to do that again. In fact, if we look at this dimension down the bottom here, if I hit RE, no, it didn't affect anything. If I zoom in and then hit RE, you see it's regenerated the line, so it's in the proper dashing style. I suppose that's the biggest difference. Now that it's just tweaking those details, and the biggest thing you'll see those on is curves, because curves in CAD land are actually faceted lines that we just can't see, and they're more organic to our eye. But when the computer's got a lot to think about, it will facet them to save memory. Something to consider. Don't forget regen. It's a very underrated command. So next on my hit list is a personal favorite, if I can say that. No, it's not a personal favorite at all. It's one of the commands that frustrates me the most. Years and years of development, they still haven't got it right. And if you've guessed it, yes, it is the hatch command. For years and years, this has tormented CAD users with its continual crashes of the software. And what I'm going to share with you today is a method that I have found over the years to be effective in preventing those crashes, or at least minimizing those crashes as much as possible. And it will seem simple when I say it, but let's just get to it. I don't really need to say more than that. This is an original Oli Cooper masterpiece, and what I'm going to do, I want to hatch it to actually make it a bit more interesting. Now, we've got two ways of hatching. We've obviously got the ribbon command, and we've got the keyboard command. I'm a keyboard typer, so I'm going to use H enter, and then instantly the computer in the background is trying to find every boundary or bounded area. Now, as I hover over, the computer will dynamically show these. Now, my trick to doing this efficiently in larger, more complex drawings is either to try and find the area I want to hatch and isolate it, but also to follow the following method. I don't mess around with the hatch creation ribbon during hatch creation. The reason being, the computer's got enough to think about with the bounding object. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my areas that I want. Is there anywhere else I want? Let's do that. And then I'm going to hit enter just to confirm and complete. Now, this doesn't mean I'm stuck with this hatch for good, because whenever I select that hatch, that ribbon comes back up and I can change it to my heart's content. But the reason I do this is because as soon as I try and multitask, the computer gets a bit slower, and you can see I've got a bit of an error there. It can do it, but it doesn't do it well, and this is quite often what leads to crashes I've found over the years. So my top tip is get in, get out. Do your hatch, don't edit it, leave it, and then go back and do things that make it look pretty. That's my top tip for hatch. So something that people don't often talk about in AutoCAD is their libraries and why we have them to make our life easy. So things like truss, steel deck. And what I just want to quickly show you is a little workflow that I personally use to create my block library and make sure that I've kept parts that I think are relevant. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump back into the screen and I'm just going to quickly create a block. I'm not going to really go into too much detail of what it is. I just want to go through the process. So I'm just going to draw a very rough rectangle, breaking all the rules of CAD by just freehanding it. And let's say we want to make that into my block. So I'm going to highlight all of that and type block. At this point, I'm given a lot of options. Not everyone knows all these options, so I'm going to run through these. So I'm just going to call this sample block. I like to do things in capitals because for me, it's cleaner. It's just the way my brain works. I won't bore you too much with that. And then I'm going to go, the next section is base point. So basically, when it says specify on screen, I'm going to tell the computer where I want this block to insert from. So this is going to be a drawing within a drawing. If I don't select that, it will use this point here, which is the 0, 0 point of drawing. I never want that. I always want to specify on screen. I want control. So when I come to insert this block again, if I do it from 0, 0, if this model is miles away from 0, 0, when I insert it, my cursor is going to have to be miles away from when I insert, and you'll end up with a really messy drawing. So it's really important to tick that. Next, units. You'd be surprised how many people set that to imperial. UK based, 9 times out of 10, I say we all draw in millimeters. If you draw in inches, fair enough. I use millimeters, so I'm going to make sure that's in millimeters. And then we can move on to the next section, which is the objects. I've already selected them, so I don't have to worry about this. And then I get 3 options: retain, convert to block, or delete. So I can delete the object once it's converted to a block. I'm sure there's occurrences where you do that, but I never do. You can retain the original geometry, so therefore leave it as individual lines and rectangles, or convert to block. That's my standard go-to. In terms of behavior, it's not annotative. I don't want it to be anything to do with that. That's a whole different ballgame and nightmare, so I steer clear. Scale uniformly. This can sometimes be useful if you've got a figure or a set piece that you never want to deform. In this case, I don't mind. I trust someone who's going to use this is going to use it properly. You can't tick this if you want to do a perspective set. This would break a whole load of features that make your life easier further down the line. And then allowing exploding, a way of protecting your block at the most simple level. To be honest, there's ways around this, so it's not even worth unticking. So I'm just going to hit OK, and it's going to ask me to specify the insertion point. So I'm going to use the bottom left-hand corner. So when I go to insert, just to show this, when I go to my sample block, you can see that my cursor is exactly where I've just clicked. Had I done 0, 0, my cursor would be here and my object would be over here. It's incredibly frustrating. So now that I've created a block, what can I do with it? Do I need to copy it to another drawing? I could highlight it and go Control-Shift-C and then go Control-V, but then I'd have to keep the drawing that I'm referencing constantly open, which is quite frustrating. If I highlight it and type W block, I can actually write, this is actually a command called write block, obviously from the title. I can actually export this block as its own individual drawing to a location that I want. So I'm going to put this into my downloads folder. I'm going to back save this to a AutoCAD 2000 drawing because I like a bit of cross compatibility. And then I can hit save. And what that will do when I hit OK is create the drawing, an individual drawing of this in my downloads folder. So if I just drag that across, you can see I now have that as its own individual drawing. Why is this powerful? If you do this with lots of items, you can build up a block library like so. And these are all individual, I don't know why I've gone into sound. I'm going to go into Steel Deck because it's a nice obvious example. I can save all of these individual drawings with different file names. And then to just reinsert them, all I need to do is grab the file. So all I've done is select and drag, and you can see I get a different icon. I can select and drag that file back in. It'll ask me the scale factor. So I want 1 to 1. So it's already defaulted to 1, so I'm not going to change that. It's asking me to use the same factor. Yep, absolutely. And what rotation? 0 degrees. I can just drag and drop that file in, and the file name will be the block name. Really quick and easy for saving blocks and bringing them back into AutoCAD. As with everything these days, everything is going online, and Autodesk isn't actually afraid to do that. With every Autodesk subscription, you now get Autodesk Online. Now, this has previously come in the form of the rather dubious A360, Projects 360, and other such things you're likely not to have heard of because they're just that bad. But for once, this year, they have created something relatively useful, AutoCAD Online. Now, this is a web version of AutoCAD that can deal with 2D drawings. And if you're on the go or on a light-powered laptop that isn't ideal for CAD, this is a tool that will enable you to very quickly and easily edit drawings online. So just switching across, if you type in web.autocad.com, you'll be presented with a beautiful AutoCAD drawing and then a sign-in tool. When you hit sign in, it will go through your usual process. And I've saved my password, so it's probably going to ask me for dual factor. No, we're being let in. And it will begin to load, all being well. Now, this is still relatively new, and as you can see, they've marked it with the beta marking, meaning we're not quite there yet, but we want to show it off and show what it can do. Now, there's two ways you can use this. You can upload your drawings directly from AutoCAD, or you can upload manually by using a normal web folder browser. Otherwise, you can also create new drawings. This is great. It will ask you for a name of a drawing, so I'm just going to go test, and of course, metric units, and I'm just going to open. The only disadvantage to this is, unlike a normal AutoCAD drawing, we can't save templates to AutoCAD Online, but this will allow us to do the usual paper spaces, set the sizes. In fact, this is a lot easier than actually doing it in CAD because you can just click on a layer and it gives you all of this information. But if we just go back to model space and just try and have a quick draw of something, down at the bottom left-hand corner, we've got a much simpler form of the drawing. So we've got rectangle, circle, arcs, lines, and polylines, and then a small command line down at the bottom. Now, keyboard commands do work, and let's do a 8x4 flat. So 1220, 2440. My zoom is okay, and then I'll do offset. Do that by 22, and you can see it's pretty fast. It's pretty nippy. It's not causing me any major issues. The layout is much the same, so in the bottom right hand corner I've still got the object snaps, ortho, polar tracking, and I can still very easily, I can use my, oh that's interesting, the right click move doesn't exist. Now I didn't realize that until now. So in this case we only get delete, repeat last command, and zoom extends. That's a bit of a shame. So I would have to go move and then highlight. So okay, it's not perfect yet, but not bad overall. And then again, I suppose copy. I never actually use the keyboard commands for these commands. This is a bit of a new workflow for me. But you can see there's very little glitching. Overall, I think it's a really good step in the right direction for those of you who are production managers on the road. The disadvantage of this is when I go to properties or to then do some dimensioning. In fact, if I go to the annotate tab, I think it will just give me a generic annotation that it thinks is the right size, which you can see is huge. And I don't get much in the object properties, much option to edit, although they've built in some simplex, which basically the simplest form of dimensions that they will create. Let's just see if we can change that to mechanical 10, see what it does. So they've built some in, but perhaps it might be worth uploading a blank couple of documents just for you then to edit and resave. I'm not sure if you can do a save a copy as. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. You can do save as. So we can save this as a new thing. So if you uploaded a generic DWG, now you can't upload a DWT. That is another flaw. If you uploaded a template in a DWG format and then do file save as, you could then very quickly pull up your standards and your paper spaces for 2D drawings. I think it's a brilliant tool myself. I think it's quite quick, it's quite easy, and when you're on the road, I think this will be really powerful with plot styles as well. Now, this also has the ability for you to open this up and then open up in desktop. I'm not entirely sure why you'd want that feature. It does exist. I've tried it. For me personally, it's not worked that well. I'm sure it will become better with time. Again, settings brings up our usual settings in a slightly different format, and you can plot to PDF direct from the page. So for those wanting to make a quick PDF, this might be a very good tool. So I just jumped quite quickly back and forth there. And then if I go to an A4, let's see what it does. And portrait, plot to PDF, let's see what, and it says generating, it will let us know when it's done. Quite a powerful, quick little tool, AutoCAD Online, and I'm sure over the next few years it will improve. There you go, and PDF is ready. Let's see how that came out. There you go, nice little drawing, so good for a little markup. I'm sure there's some sort of intelligence there that identifies the model and tries to put it in a reasonable point of the page. So that is AutoCAD Online. Have a go. Let me know what you think. Building upon Autodesk's online collaborative tools is a product called Autodesk Viewer. This is a personal favorite tool of mine as it allows you to share drawings online in a 2D and 3D format without having to produce a paper space, which is often the hardest part of what we do, putting all the information on board. The other advantages behind Autodesk Viewer is it enables you to share your drawing without actually giving your drawing away. So for those concerned with digital rights, or whether you're pitching a job to a client where you don't actually want to share the assets of the drawing, it's a really secure way to do this. So to give you an example, I've just loaded up a very old drawing of mine from a project, I think 3 or 4 years ago, of a caravan. I won't say the show for various reasons, but some may recognize this. Now, in the past, I would have had to have produced a whole plethora of paperwork to go alongside this design drawing to get the designer and production manager to sign off, and then that would be submitted to the construction team. Now, nowadays, what I tend to do is discuss with my production manager, directors, designers, or any stakeholder in the process, really, how I can share this information quickly, because our processes have always been pushed for time and turnarounds are definitely getting much faster. So if I go look at my ribbon, I've actually got a tab called Collaborate. And the first tool in this is called Shared Views. If I click on that, I get a palette, which I'll just drag onto my main screen so you can see, and I'm just going to dock it there. Apologies for the glitching there. Now, from here, what I want to do is then hit New Shared View. And then I will call it by the drawing name. So in this case, I will put sample caravan. Now I've already uploaded this to try and speed this video up so we don't have to wait for any uploads. But just to run through the process, give the item a name. You can ask it to share the current view only, which would lock it in this isometric view. But in this case, I'm going to share model and all layout views. So that's any paper spaces I may have created. I can ask it only to show 2D views, but I've gone to the effort of drawing a 3D, so why wouldn't I show the 3D? And then I can also share object properties. This might include information such as materials if you've mapped them, or if you've put any particular deeper properties in the 3D objects or 2D objects. So I keep that on by default. At that point, I hit share, and the computer's essentially going to tell me it's going to work in the background. That's absolutely fine. Please proceed. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice that there is a little icon that appears with a circle and basically saying, I'm sharing this online. Please wait. At this point, I don't close CAD. I need to leave it open for a little while just to continue uploading, and it will come up with a little pop-up similar to that when you import something. It will say, finally finished importing, click here to view online. At this point, I'm going to go across to my web browser. Using the browser of your choice, you want to navigate to viewer.autodesk.com and you'll be presented with the following site. Here you'll find the ability to log in, and that's only for you really to log in. When you're actually sharing the drawing, you share a link which can be opened by anyone. The advantages of logging in, of course, are the ability to use the collaborative tools that Autodesk provide, such as the markup and essentially just the markup tools, really. When we log in, you'll find all the drawings that you currently have uploaded. By default, all drawings have a 30-day lifespan. You can extend this simply by hitting the extend button, and it will renew the drawing for an additional 30 days. The initial page shows drawings owned by you, but anyone who shared a drawing with you, their drawings will appear here. Now, we uploaded directly from AutoCAD. You can also upload the AutoCAD file directly on the web page, and in some ways this might be easier because it doesn't mean you have to leave AutoCAD open as it processes. Once uploaded, it will appear, and then you simply click the link to show its various views. Here you're presented with its default view of 2D, and just to run round, you have the left-hand toolbar, which is currently set to views. We can switch between the 2D views, the 3D views, and the sheet views. We can also look at some layer information. We can also look at properties, which has strangely appeared on the right. And we also have some settings, which are essentially how the website reacts graphically, how fast you want your scroll speed, and whether you want your zoom direction reversed, which I'd say most of us do unless you've got used to zooming in, scrolling forward being zooming out, which I never quite have got. And you can also set your background to black to make life a little bit easier. But I'm going to leave it as default as possible, just so it's as close to what you'll get out of the box. On the right hand side, we can make comments, we can print, take screenshots, and share. If we hit share, we get the default link, which again, as I said, doesn't require a login. This will just allow people to view it in any browser available. If I select 3D views quickly, it will default to the last view that this was saved in, and using this I can scroll around and have a good look and zoom in of all the features of this 3D model. Now I'm holding down shift and using the middle mouse button to orbit, but there is also the orbit tool where you can use the left-hand click. I personally am so used to using shift and middle mouse, it comes as second nature now. In terms of panning, it's again the same, middle mouse button, or you can use the pan tool, and then home takes you to the default view again. A couple of tools that I really like about this and I think are really powerful. I'm going to work from the left to right. The first one is the section tool. Quite often we need to have a look through mechanical structures and sometimes even design structures to check that they have all the elements we need. And just by clicking section, you can see it's instantly clipped a line for me and it's done a section through the structure. Now, carefully hovering over the section tool, I get two options. I can either rotate the section or grab the arrow. Now the arrow will go yellow when I've actually managed to grab it, and it is a slight wrangling and it's something you'll get used to. And I can scroll through the entire structure any depth I want, and I can do that more or less any angle too. If I now choose to spin the section 90 degrees, you can see how it's automatically clipped. I'm just going to grab that arrow again, and then I'm going to do a section through like so. And then you can see the interior and all the beams and members that we're cutting through. I quite like this tool, it's very useful. To turn that off, we just have to select another tool and then it will turn off. Next useful tool, and probably the one most commonly used by us, will be the measure. Again, we get similar grips to what we're used to in AutoCAD, and don't be afraid to zoom in. And sometimes it does, sometimes you need to hover a little bit. and then we can just do point to point. And now in the newer version of this, they actually leave the dimensions on. So what you can do is do some dimensioning, do a little markup, and then take a screenshot or print this out for your reference. We get distance, angle. I'm not sure what the calibrate tool is. This is again a very new one. This is where we can scale things. This is a useful new tool that I've not heard about. So we can then set the units as we like them. I like that. That's new. Very good. Finally, we have the explode tool. Now this is a mixed bag of cats, but essentially what it enables us to do is to break down the model into its constituent parts, which in construction drawings can be really powerful because then you can see how it all comes together. And in this case, you can see how the drawing has been drawn with the various window panels being separate and the wheels, and then it will bring it back together. Finally, we have the markup tool, which is possibly the most useful tool. What that will do is essentially take an image of the current view that you're in. So you can see it kind of did a little flash as I did that. And what I will do is draw an arrow. So I'm going to go, let's comment on the wheels. Now, I always get this the wrong way around. Oh, I managed it right. It draws the arrowhead last. I'm going to grip that to the wheels. And then I'm just going to do a text box going, please review wheel design. And then I will go save. And what that'll do, that'll email the person who's uploaded the drawing and it will direct them to this. And then I can click on that and look at it and it'll go, oh, please review. Great. So I can close that markup. I can then type a comment on that going, new wheel design in Rev A. I can post that and then tick that as a resolved detail. So quite useful for quickly feeding stuff back and forth with an image. Again, zooming in, I can go markup, arrow, edit shape. And of course you've got different colors and stuff. And I'm just gonna, you can just align that if you want, and then it will just add another tool. And so that's the collaborative tools within Autodesk Viewer. And I just think it's really powerful as a quick means of showing progress on a project, as well as showing ideas quickly and easily. So the final tool I'd like to share with you today is a bit of a hidden gem and certainly another of Autodesk's recent innovations in AutoCAD. And at this point, if you're still with me, thank you for watching. And hopefully this will help you. It's actually called DWG Compare. And if you've not heard of this before, it's a tool that allows us to look at does exactly what it says on the tin. It allows us to compare two drawings. Now, why is this powerful? I, particularly during my time at the National Theatre, spent a lot of time doing composite ground plans. And you'd do 5, 6, 7, 8 versions. And that was quite common just by the nature and pace of the work that we were going. And this tool would have been really powerful to highlight the differences in meetings, to go, this is where we were, this is where we are now. Now, for this, I'm actually going to, again, jump back into AutoCAD to show a practical demo of this. I'm actually going to use a drawing from my National Theatre time, and I hope they don't mind me doing this. It's actually one of the more complicated drawings I did, which was Ugly Lies the Bone. And when it opens up, you will see why. Essentially, what I'm going to do, I'm going to load my primary drawing. So this is actually a provisional. I'm going to ignore my XREF issues because we shouldn't have any, but they appear to be occurring. So this is the Littleton Theatre, and this is a show that I put on in there. Now you can see all the drawing details there. It's a reasonable drawing, but there's a lot going on. So if I said to you, here's version A, can you tell me the differences? And actually, even I, knowing the show, would struggle to look between these two versions. So again, on the ribbon, we go to the Collaborate tab and we get DWG Compare just next to the shared views. When I click on that, it'll ask me for my second drawing. Now in this case, I've downloaded issue 2. I think there were a couple of issues between that and this one. So I'm going to select this drawing. There's absolutely no reason for me to right click. And then the computer will pause for a moment. It will feel as if it's frozen, but this blue border indicates to us that it is not. It is actually thinking, and behind my face in the corner of this video, it is actually showing a blue bar doing some progress. Now you can see most of the drawing has now grayed out with some elements in green and some elements in red. If I hit the little cog up at the top, that will tell me what's going on. So, red items are not in the current drawing. Now this is something, and the current drawing being the provisional one we actively opened first. And green are objects only in the current drawing, and grey is indicating zero difference. You can customize these colors in the same way we customize layers, just simply by clicking on them, and we get the usual color index coming up. Oh, I didn't mean to exit that quite. And then also revision clouds. The one time I use revision clouds is in this, it automatically generates them. It will turn these on just to help you find them in the smaller details. And I've filtered out hatches because that would just be a nightmare in itself. As we all know, Hatch and AutoCAD are fabled friends. I can turn the compare on and off. So if I hit the light bulb, I can resume working on my provisional and then turn the comparison back on. Now, instantly, everything in green is stuff that is only in this drawing. So you can see here, I've got a green and a red element. So the red was obviously a previous location. A green is the current. Now, the way it does this, the DWG compare, it loads both drawings, and the second drawing is an external reference, and it essentially applies a filter color to it. And it allows me just to quickly flick between. You can also use the arrows to cycle through every revision cloud, and it will highlight every single difference. As you can see, it's taking me through even the eye spots and points on a drawing. And it's just a really powerful tool, particularly when you're dealing with multiple versions of the same drawing. And you can select the draw order so that the older is over the newer, and you can also essentially save the comparison as its own drawing. So if you wanted to pre-make this for a meeting, you could save this and then open it up as it is now, ready to go. Now, I think that you can see there that it's noticed even a few millimeters difference between the design drawing unit and then the constructed unit. And again here, the lift position versus the final lift position, and then again here, a flown object relative to another flown object where it's moved. This to me is a really powerful tool for production managers, draftsmen, and even designers, just to have a look to see where the project began to where the project ended up. And when I hit tick, it will end and just resume back into the standard drawing and delete the XREF as if it wasn't there. Brilliant tool. Well done. It doesn't work in 3D. It is purely a 2D drawing, but I feel it's still a great tool and certainly one that should be shared. Thank you for joining me on this Skillshare video, and thank you for the PMF for asking me to do this. It's been a great challenge. As you can imagine, there are thousands of tips, tricks, and little things that I can show you, and this is just a short snippet. So do reach out to me if you have any questions. I would be happy to help you on your CAD journey. I also have a YouTube channel which I try and upload to, and with the extra time on my hands we all currently have, I am trying to build that up a little bit, so I welcome any support you may be able to give. But do reach out if you have questions. I will be happy to answer, and hopefully see you all soon.